Right. Hello, ladies. I messed that up already. Hi, everybody. Richie here. It's feeling. Oh, for God's sake! Why? I'm so glad this isn't live. I can edit this out. Hi, everyone. Richie here from Nerdic Pro Podcast. It's going to be episode 3 of Feeling Blegh. Today, I'm joined with Dan from Melt to the Masses. How are we doing?
Not too bad yourself, Richie. Obviously, you sound pretty bad, but yeah, I'm fit as a fiddle.
I'm feeling a lot better than I was this morning. I dosed myself up like 20 minutes ago. So,
It's fair enough.
right. So we are on the cusp of Melted Masses 2026. Um, how did you get involved?
Ooh. So it was in 2014 is when I joined up to help. That was with the current runner. His name was Errol Watson. A lot of people in the Norwich music scene know who Errol is. He ran the shows until he up and left. I think it was 2019, so his last one would have been 2018. Then the Brickmakers at the time, Emma and Charlie took it on, and they asked me to step in and take over basically. And then when they left, just continued doing it. So yeah, it's been 11, so it's been like 12th year that we've been doing it. So yeah, I've been there from about 2014.
Um, so what directly is it your role then?
So when I first started, it was just literally helping out on the stage, being a stagehand, and then I asked Errol if I could get into doing some of the announcements, and he was like, "Oh yeah, you can do that. I hate going up on stage and announcing." And to be fair, I hated it at first because of all the nerves and all that. But the more I did it, the more comfortable it was doing it. And then after Errol left, it was literally doing the same, running it. Um, Emma from the Brickmakers at the time, she then took over and organised all the bands. But when she left and we started to do it, just us, obviously we have Claire, who currently runs the Brickmakers, involved heavily. Like she helps sort all the dates out with us. But apart from that, now we have an email address, and obviously we put stuff out on Facebook and Instagram, and then we deal with all the emails that come through. Myself deal with the majority of them. Chris can jump on as well when he is available to do so. So now we have a lot more to do with it than what we did previously. So that's quite nice. And then obviously we expanded out into Ipswich, and we did do Cambridge, but then we rescinded from Cambridge, and then it was on the grounds that another place that's closer to Cambridge would step in and take that over. So yeah, that's pretty much it. The day-to-day running of it now is on me and Chris.
So the next thing I was going to say is how big is like the team? Do you
Three, pretty much. So it's me, Chris, and Rory. Rory does all our posters for us. He's also really handy with getting in contact with bands and stuff that, you know, he'll go out and he'll headhunt bands, be like, do you want to come and play? So he's done that a bit for us this year, which is handy. Normally we can fill up quite well, but this year we were lacking a little bit, so we needed to headhunt about 3 or 4 bands just to get full roster of bands. So we have the uses for him. He definitely, he does a cracking job with the posters for us, definitely. Um, then the other people involved would be Claire and Darren. So Claire obviously runs the Brickmakers, so she'll help us at the Brickmakers. Darren runs the music rooms, and then So we come into the music rooms. He hosts a show. We do our bit, and then he also puts on bands and does a DJ night after. So that's why the Ipswich ones are typically on a Saturday, because they can run on a lot longer. And it's really nice in the music rooms if you've never visited. I recommend anyone that follows us to head down there and catch a show. It's a really good night.
I did look up the where the music rooms was, because we're going to cover everything again, but we want to do both sides as well. And well, I say luckily enough. So this, I don't know if you're a football fan or not, and this potentially could lead up to something if you are. I'm an Ipswich Town fan, and it seems I think by the looks of it on the maps, it's about 20 minutes up the road from the stadium. So
yeah, it's really close.
So
personally, I'm not a football fan, but I do get it from both sides. When we say about going to Ipswich, we get booed in Norwich. When we say about going to Norwich, we get booed in Ipswich. It's like, this ain't football. This is about community. I don't care about your teams. Take that somewhere else.
My best friend's a Norwich City fan, so like it's just banter, like from my point of view. So when it comes to getting a roster, if you want to call it that, of the bands for whichever particular side it is, how do you go about organising who's who? Is it? I was going to use a football reference for it. Like, is it a case like everybody's like drawing out of a hat, or is it literally just like these four, or?
So when they apply, one of the first things I'll ask them is where they want to play. So obviously with the two locations, it's like, do you want to play in Norwich? Do you want to play in Ipswich? And it's kind of obvious when they say, oh, we're from Norwich, or we're from Ipswich, or surrounding location. They'll probably give you a hint in the first application email anyway. But I ask anyway, just in case someone goes, oh, actually, yeah, we'd like to try our hand in Ipswich. We did a few years ago have a Norwich band play in Ipswich, even though they could play in Norwich, which was fine. We had no issues with that. And then when it comes to actually sorting them out, personally, I don't listen to any of the bands, especially the new ones. I want to be surprised on the night of, what they sound like and what they can bring. But obviously, we have returning bands that have played in other years, so you kind of get a feel for like, okay, well, we know what they're like, so we'll put them in this heat, and we know what they're like, and they're quite similar, so we'll put them in this heat. Or you can tell by like, I think we've got quite a few hardcore bands apply this year, so it's just trying not to put them all in the same heat, because you want a diverse range across all the heats. And obviously with Ipswich being 2, it's slightly harder, but with Norwich being 4, it was quite easy just to go, well, this will go here, that will go here. And then I ask them, I tell them, like, can you play this heat? And majority of the time they come back and say, yeah, that one's fine. Or in their initial email, it'd be like, are you okay with all the dates? And then they'll say, oh, well, actually, we can't do this one. And they'll be, okay, we'll keep that in mind. So yeah, we just send out an email, tell them when they're playing, and they can either, accept it if they're available. But there's no theory behind it, really. It's just like, keep the bands that are similar apart, and if they meet up in the semis or in the final, so be it. But it's nice to have a diverse range on the heat nights, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, like, plenty of nights I've been to. It's quite nice because my particular metal palette, or however you want to think it, is quite diverse. Anything anyway, like literally the other year, like I listened to 2 bands almost all year, and it was Electric Callboy and Thought to Prevail, which are quite very different, sort of thing. So like for just me as a fan, when I go a night like that, sometimes you go and go see this band and they're gonna have similar bands with them as a support or whatever. But a night like the Brickies or whatever, it's quite nice to have that range of difference. that's the right word of saying it. So is there like a particular like where it comes to like each region? Is there like is it a case of like if band A applies for the East Anglia one, but they actually technically come under the one adjacent to it? Is that an issue, or is it a case of
No,
if they've applied for
no,
it, go for it?
that's not an issue at all. They could come from Scotland if they really want to, as long as they have to be exclusive to one region. They can't play multiple regions in the same year. If
Yeah,
someone wanted to come from Scotland to play in East Anglia, that's fine, as long as that's the only region that year that they play in. But obviously, if they come from further afield, I know it doesn't really matter, and it shouldn't matter, but they would have no fan base here. So, I'm a strong believer that the bands will play better when the fans are behind them. You have a rowdy crowd and they're going crazy, that'll hype up the bands, and the bands play and interact better. But, it's not always the case. And I really strongly believe also that if a band comes in from outside and they, tear the house down and give it their all and interact with a whole bunch of people that they have no clue who they are, and everyone's enjoying it, again, that's a really good thing to see.
that's good. You said about like trying not to listen to bands like before they turn up, and obviously like I appreciate the fact that's I suppose if that's because I remember you saying a while back you're a big Slayer fan. So if you get so I'm assuming you quite like the a bit of thrash, and so if you know that there's going to be a thrash band on this thing, you know that's going to perk you up, sort of thing. And but with like the returning bands and that, do you like have like, oh, I know this band, like Skin Changer, for example, they got to the final 2 years in a row, was it? You see them on the card, and you go, well, we're going to have a certain level of expectation for them because we know how good they are. Not to diminish the other people, but it's like, do you have like certain expectation of returning bands at all, or is it just try and clear mind it as much as possible?
Clear minded as much as possible. We know what they can be capable of, and you don't want to be like, well, especially if they have new members as well, you've got to treat that as kind of a fresh band. It's like, well, this new member could now bring something completely different and change the dynamic of how they integrate on stage. And obviously, how well they gel on stage is, a key factor of what we look at. Because if they don't look like a band, it's like, well, come on, guys, you meant to be in this to be doing it for the joy of it as well. Everyone's got to be having fun. If everyone's looking miserable, it's like, why are you doing this if you're miserable? But yeah, when it comes to like the returning band stuff, obviously we know what they sound like, and we know their old songs, and we know how much interaction they have with the crowd. It's quite a hard one to really think about, because I personally, it's not just things doesn't just fall on me. I just want to put that out there. I'm not like judge, jury, and executioner. There is multiple aspects and people who judge every night, and it does go to a panel every night of judges. Some of the judges may have never seen them from previous years. We have quite a rotation of guest judges, which is good to call upon as well. And ultimately, the final, when Simon Hall does come, it falls on him, and he's not seen any of the bands, which is normally great. When he leaves it to us, that when he first started leaving it to us, it was a bit like, "Are you sure?" And he was like, "Yeah, we trust you." It's like, thanks. It was a lot of pressure, to be honest with you. But I don't even think I've answered your question. I think I just waffled.
That waffling is a Nerdic Pro thing anyway. So just because with the metal splinter of it doesn't mean things are going to change.
Fair enough.
So you said about the judging panel. Like how many people do you have on that judging panel? Is it you three, or is it sort of a couple of extra members for that?
So I'm not gonna say who they are. It's not always us three, me, Chris, and Rory. Like there might be a combination of them, but it will be other people as well. Either people from bands of previous years have been on the panel. Darren from Ipswich, he's judged in Norwich for us. Sometimes even like the photographers as well. Sometimes we'll grab them and be like, oh, "What do you think tonight?" We do go around and we ask people as well their opinions throughout the night. So like bar staff and stuff like that. Like, oh, what do you think? What band did you like? So we gather opinions from people that we know, and we try not to have affiliates, because if they have an affiliation with the band, then they're going to be more biased to the band. So we like to try and keep it fair like that, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, when we did our bit of coverage, that was a complete sporadic thing. Literally, the Tuesday before, I think it was the second semi-final, Norwich semi-final, was a random text message, and like when I was talking to all the bands and that, like, I said to myself, I'll hold my hands up. So I'm friends with the guys in Celestial. I said I've got a certain level of bias because they're my friends, right? But I when I wished everyone luck, I genuinely meant it, because like I truly looked at it as I won on that Metal to the Masses finale night, because it was a cracking night of music and everything. And so yes, I had my bias because my friends were playing in it. However, and excuse me, so like I say, like having someone with that kind of affiliation, right? Even though it's, like I said, we'd gone there as a kind of press sort of thing, and that, yes, we had that association with them. So it's good that, like like say, you make sure that no one's affiliated, whatever, and then you get full clear like free thought sort of thing.
I don't know whether I should be saying this or not, so edit it out if you feel it's wrong. But so last year, Chris didn't judge at all, because the drummer from Skin Changer is the drummer for his band Shrapnel. He was like, I don't think it's fair if I judge. And it was just like 100% agree with you on that. If that's what you want, that's fine. Because if people look into it and be like, oh, well, Skin Changer got through because they're bandmates. And he's like, I don't want that. And it's just like, okay, it's fine. So, if he took the initiative himself to say, I'm not judging this year because of that issue. And it was just like, that's 100% fine with me.
Yeah, like you say, it doesn't matter how clear and honest his opinion is of whatever, and they truly were the best pick and everything. There's going to be someone who's had a nose put out of place because they didn't go through, or their friend's band didn't go through, or whatever. Like, well, it must be because, I mean, how often do you see stuff in just any kind of media sort of thing? It'd be a case of like, oh, well, they're affiliated with them, so that must be why they're doing well. And whether it's like movies where like, oh, this person was cast for that role, I was at, well, I mean, they're married to the director, kind of thing. It's sort of, it doesn't matter that they were actually the right person for the role because they've got that connection. Sorry, I will apologize for going on a tangent here and there if I go off subject at all.
That's fine. I will do that too. So,
good company. All right. yeah, when you said about having extra people that coming in or whatever, I had a talk with Phil from Ghost of Atlantis, and he said, I think he said that he'd been judging the Colchester one the night before. So he was quite happy to be at a final, but he didn't have the stress of that. He could just relax, enjoy the evening, get ready, go and perform, and then and just like enjoy the rest of the thing. So so I was going to ask is there anybody you'd be keeping your eye on this year round, but like I know there's a handful of returning names, like we've got Al Phelan's returning again, Azure Sky, Lease on Life. I learned to speak English one day. Gehenna, I think is that how you pronounce it? Right. That's the names I remember seeing from last year. Like you say, you sort of still try and keep the so I'm gonna learn to speak. When it comes to the judging and that, like I'm assuming it's things of like like you say, like attitude on the stage, because if they're stood there all grumpy, they're not getting the crowd fired up. The crowd response, I suppose their style isn't really a factor, because like you say, we want a lot more of a diverse palette when it comes to the actual show itself. So once you've gone through all that, how do you go about like picking like your wild cards when you go to like the semi-final and stuff?
So we get sent kind of like a rule sheet of what we should be looking at to judge. And I don't want to say on it here because obviously people listening will be like, oh, we need to do this, we need to. I don't want that to be the case, because it's not for them to know, it's for us to know, to judge them on. But yeah, the things you said do come under that. A lot of things you said have come under that. Obviously, what genre, subgenre they are of metal or rock, it has no sway on whether they get through or not. I just want to put that out there. Yes, we as individuals will have our preference. Mine is thrash metal. My preference is thrash metal. I do love thrash metal. Like you said, Slayer earlier, but yeah, go like Exodus, Testament. All that sort of genre is what I grew up with. Metallica, obviously the big one, Megadeth as well. But I like black metal, I like death metal, like technical death metal, prog metal. So I do have a broad spectrum, but my go-to is thrash. So, but yeah, I can't really divulge like what the bands, what we look for. It's kind of obvious what we do look for, but basically just look like you're enjoying yourself is a good one. But interactions as well is a good one. But interactions as a whole, together with the fans, with us, with the crew, with the sound guy, everything like that. It's a lot. But yeah, I can't really divulge too much, like I said.
No, you're fine. Like sort of, it's like the magician never tells you how the trick is done, there. So, I mean, like I said, up until last year, like, I went to Celestial's like literal debut show in 2023. That's the only Metal to the Masses show I went to that year. I couldn't get off work the following year, and then this last year, they went every round to the final. That's so I went through all of them, and I mean, like I said, I I did have my bias. I wanted my friends to win, but yeah, unfortunately they didn't, which whatever. But the one thing I quite liked was Cobra winning it last year. Got to the final on a wild card, and and the thing I liked about it so much, I mean, they were brilliant anyway. But just because you're there on a wild card, it doesn't mean you're just there to make the numbers up. And that's one thing I really like, because stuff I've seen in the past, not necessarily music, but like in the past, where it's like, oh, you get this in the wild card, no, and they're just there to make the numbers up. It's sort of like gives that false hope. But like seeing Cobra win that, from my personal view, I really like that. Yeah. And I'm nah, it's bloody gone. I bloody hate ADHD sometimes. So yeah, just going back to wild cards of like when is it a case of you go everyone, you're looking over everyone again, or is it a case of like when you had gone through that original selection to go of the ones that went through, it was like, oh, these ones really close, or on heat one, A and B miles clear of C and D, but in heat two, A stood out on whatever. B and C were really good, but B was just a little bit better. And then in heat three, A, B, and C were absolutely incredible, but we could only pick two, and that puts heat three C now in that better standing of a potential wildcard selection. Is that sort of how it goes, or is there like a certain limit of wildcard limit?
You have kind of summed it up. You do have to, and this is where, like, I come home on the night and I'll write stuff down as well, just to be like, if I need to reflect on something in the future, be like, okay, well, I need a wildcard band who, I remember this band being good, or remember that band being good. And then I'll read notes and be like, okay, well, which one? And then be like, okay, which one? And then I'll go to the others and be like, okay, put forward a wild card. This is what I think, and they'll say this is who we think. And then if we have like a common denominator, then it'll be like, okay, well, everyone's said that. And that's also how kind of like the judging panel go. Everyone be like, right, we've got all this, and then we go through everything, kind of like you could call it like a scorecard as well. It'd be like, they scored, if you score them, how would you score them on this and that? And then you end up getting a picture of like, okay, so it's not just like, right, we've got to pick a band. Obviously we have to pick bands, but you have to take a lot of thought into it, and it's not like a snap decision either. You start formulating opinions throughout the night, and it's hard. Like, you could watch band one and be like, band one really good. Then you could watch band two and be like, band one, I like band one better. And then you watch band three and you'd be like, well, now I don't know. I like both. But then band four comes on and you're like, did they just steal the show? And it's just like, okay, well, now we know that. Let's track back, right? Who was helpful? How did they set up and that sort of stuff. If I go too much into it, then I'm going to be, like, say, giving the game away. But that's when you start thinking about that, and then when you're like, right, okay, now we need to bring in the wild cards. Who do we pick? And then we go back and I reflect on my notes, and whatever the others do, they do. And then we go, yeah, okay, let's bring this one through. And like you said, it happened with Cobra last year, and they went and won
it. Just a little bit more on the judging part. So when sort of like said about like the judging, like the crowd response to them, or something. We both know what it's like seeing band one start of the evening when the crowd's quiet and then sort of like wait things kick in and whatnot. And then obviously as the night goes on, especially once a few more drinks have been sort of like, sort of gone down and a little more lively and whatnot. How hard is it to judge a band on the crowd response when it is the first band?
In previous years, the order was decided on the ticket sales, which, I weren't running it at the time. That was somebody else. And then we got rid of that aspect to make it more fairer. We started drawing them out of a hat. And so that gave the chance to actually, the people that came from outside that wouldn't bring a lot of people would then have a crowd to play to. But you're right, being first on is harder. There's less of a crowd. They might not be as rowdy. We give a good half an hour before, from the band starting, from the doors opening to get people in. But everywhere does it different as well. Some places have crowd participation vote, and then it will diminish over the through the heats to the semis, and then the final there's no crowd participation vote. We have tried something like that before, and we didn't feel like that worked for us. But when we do judge, we're not just watching the fans; we are watching the crowd as well, believe it or not, to see how they engage. Are they into it? Are they not? But obviously, that they both feed off each other. If the bands are encouraging the crowd to go mental and they go mental, then the energy from the crowd will be fed back into the band. So yeah, we watch the crowds as well as the band, see, and you get a cheer at the end. If you get a massive cheer, then you're like, okay, the crowd really like this. If you get like what I call like a, okay, you play, just, we, you kind of like, okay, maybe they weren't too into it. It could be because, they didn't like that sort of music, which is fine. Everyone has their own opinions. But what we didn't want it to turn into, and I hope it's not, is to just be a popularity contest.
Yeah.
So, just because a band is popular doesn't mean they should win or go through. Because just because they're popular doesn't mean they could be better than the band that aren't as popular.
Yeah, like you say, like
question.
Sorry.
I hope that answers that question.
Yeah, like you say, if you've got a band that comes in and they've only brought a dozen people with them, and then but band B, they live up the road, so there's 20, 30, at least 20, 30 people seeing them. It's sort of a little hard. Sort of crowd responses could be a little bit different there. When you say about a crowd participation sort of thing, is that I presume that is like there'll be like a thing at the back of the thing where you can go and have a audience vote sort of thing.
Some places do start. Yeah, obviously we don't do that.
That's fair. My brother-in-law was in a band for what, 5, 6, no, right before COVID happened. And they were in a battle of bands to get on the beer festival down the way and that, and that's exactly how that was. Everyone played, and then a big intermission, everybody go on thing and vote and whatnot, and then problem is, like you say, that can then turn into like a popularity contest after that. It's all like it doesn't matter like who was actually the best one, because sort of if you go to support your friends and there was another band better, it's like, do I pick the better band or do I support my friends like why I'm here?
Honestly, the best way you can support your friends, and this is a bit of promotion for all the bands, is to buy a ticket from them, support them that way. Because what we do is, we have a lot of control over what we do. We let the bands sell their own tickets. We give every single band an allocation of 50 spaces, and they can sell their tickets, and for doing that, they get half of the money back to them straight away.
Yeah.
So they say, "Oh, we sold 50 tickets." I'm like, "Okay, well, you've made £400 because at the moment they're £8 each. You keep 200. I'll take 200 for our fees and stuff." And and they're like, "Oh, great, we've made some money." Acid Throne, if they played a few years ago, they said that was really helpful to them. They took that money that they made from ticket sales and then they invested it in t-shirts, and then on top made more money, and then bought more t-shirts and then sold them, made more money, and then they had enough to go do recording and stuff like that. So I believe the biggest support that the fans can have for the bands in the competition is actually just buying a ticket.
Yeah, I mean that's just in general, really. Like, you when you're supporting whether it's your friend's band, local scene, whatever, like you say, just go there, buy a ticket, go and watch them. If you like the band, go and buy a t-shirt, a beanie, stickers, whatever. Just sort of like any little thing helps them out. And I've lost count how many times I've heard this, but the bands that headline Download started in a pub somewhere, sort of thing, and had people starting following them there, and then got bigger and bigger and bigger. How regardless of how big a rocket it was that got strapped to them, they all had to start somewhere. So whether it's Metal to the Masses or any other kind of battle of bands or just gigs in general, like you say, buy a ticket. Like even if it's just bloody a pack of stickers or whatever, just something will help them out. So just getting back to it. Do you how much interaction do you guys have with other Metal to the Masses areas then? Other than just
honestly,
maybe
zero.
Oh, okay, that's another one.
Literally zero. So obviously the person that we're in contact with is Simon Hall, who does everything for all the regions. We contact him, say, "Yep, we're still interested in doing it," and that's it. Like, we have zero interaction with any other regions. If they were to come up and email us about something saying, "Oh, whatever," then we'd have an interaction. But for as long as I've been doing it, I've actually had pretty much zero interaction with any other region.
So I mean, at least all the time I've been in, by the sound of all the time you've been doing it, Brickmakers have hosted it at least for the Norwich section of it. Is it just one of those open things where it's like, "Hey, you guys want to host again?" Yeah, or do other people try to apply at all to host it?
So I can't really speak for when I wasn't involved in that side. But when Emma and Charlie took it over, that was it was going to be locked to there because they were the ones that took it on, and I was basically the face of it, if you want to say. And then when they left, then we were more open to it. But Claire kind of knew what it could bring, and then we just went. We went with her and said we would like to do it. Still here, and she was just like, "Yeah." And to be honest with you, we've not really thought about going anywhere else. Like, as for Norwich as it is, to have that size of a venue for what we get it for, is like a godsend. We could take it somewhere else, but I personally don't really want to do that if I don't have to. It's got good capacity. If we were looking at like a higher capacity, you're then looking at something like the Waterfront Studios, and to move there means we'll have to start. We'd have to pay them. We'd have to pay for like security and bar staff and all the additional extras, and then that would then affect how we run it, because it'd be like, well, okay, because we don't make nothing from this, by the way. Just want to put that out there. So to do that would mean, well, we'd have to raise ticket prices, and if we raise ticket prices too much, people would be like, oh, well, I don't really want to go because it's just a bunch of local bands. So to have it at the Brickmakers and being able to keep it at a reasonable cost for us is probably key. And going out to Ipswich and the music rooms, Darren hosts us. He's part of the crew. So because he also runs the music rooms, that's quite a benefit for us as well.
Like you say, the Brickmakers, I don't know what the actual number for the capacity is, but that can hold a lot of people. And on Metal to the Masses nights, that's chocker, So like, yeah, like you said, once you start looking for a bigger venue, and then because it's a bigger venue, you then got higher this, higher that, raise prices. I suppose you then start doing more damage than good. The good that it's supposed to be providing. Because I mean, what was it 2006 it started? Belt to the Masses.
I believe so. Yeah. I don't know when it moved into the East Anglia region, but that's probably about when it started.
I remember reading Kerrang and sort of like when I was like 16, and it's sort of like I opened up and there's metal, flicking through like the gig review things at the start of it, and seeing this Metal to the Masses poster on it. I'm like, I have no idea what it is. I have no idea what any of those bands are, but it sounds cool, sort of thing. And I just kind of like never really followed on. I was in my 30s when I finally went to my first Metal to the Masses show. So it's just sort of like, yeah. So where this year's ones are concerned anyway. We've got your 4 acts of each thing. I remember last year having some like headliners and stuff in. Is that going to be the case again this year?
So people may have noticed that the semi-finals for Norwich are now on Saturday.
Yeah.
The reason for that is so we can bring in guest headliners without saying who they are, because we haven't officially announced it at the moment. By the time that this podcast go out, we might have announced it, but we do have them all locked in at the moment. There's one show that's going to have dual guest headliners, and we're just waiting for one of the bands to come back and say yes, and we'll start processing all the poster work for each individual semi-final in Norwich. Like I said before, with the Ipswich ones, that starts on Darren runs. Apart from the competition bands, everything else is him. He has his own guest headliners. He does DJ set into the early hours of the morning after we've left, trying to battle our way back up the A140 to Norwich, which is at that time of night not really a battle. It's just a long drive in the dark.
Yeah. You said about the semi-finals moving to Saturdays. So it's like, after last year's, I was like, screw it, I'm gonna do this again next year. And then when the dates were announced, I was like, right, okay, I got to book this day off work, that day off work, that day off work, because I work alternate shifts. So it's like, what days are they? Do I need to book Friday off or the Thursday night? And it's like, and then I got the semi-finals, like, that's Saturdays. Oh, there's Saturdays. So like, it's nice not having to. I've got to rush home, sort of thing. I can enjoy it a little more, sort of thing. It's like, because I live just the other side of King's Lynn. That's 60-odd mile drive home. So,
whereas me, I live 2 miles away, and it takes me 10 minutes. But it also opens it up more for guest bands, because we don't have like an away band from another country come and play. We have English bands or UK bands, whatever you want to call them, come and play and guest headline for us, and a lot of them play Friday, Saturday, sometimes a Thursday night, but Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights are their go-to nights, because because of work commitments. So to move it on to a Saturday made more sense, because then, yes, it's nice to have the four band, but it is also nice to throw in a guest headliner, maybe like a band that won another region previous years is also good to come through. It's also, one of the things I wanted to do this year was try and get a good stable bands for the final. We almost had one, and then they're like, "Oh, sorry, we can't do it. We're already playing Norwich that year." It's just like, oh, damn. So, yeah, that would have been a good one to see at the Brickmakers, but unfortunately, they're already playing in Norwich this year, so they declined.
You said about like not bringing an international band to that. Was last year Shrapnel were in Poland headlining one of the Polish metal masses thing. Is there any interest in having an international, potentially having the next Gojira or Rammstein come over and play an East Anglian show, Melton Massive show, or sort of like
we do get emails with like some bands will email over and be like, "Oh, are you interested in guest headline and slot? We'd be interested in playing." But then obviously then it's a negotiation then, because then you have to negotiate. Okay, well, what's your fee? And then it's just like, well, to negate that. So we're all working people, and we don't want to be too much into the red when we come out the other side, which I think is pretty fair. We take on the risk of the there's a franchise fee, there's the venue costs, the general running costs that we have as well. We shoulder that, and obviously when you start having guest headliners, they come with a price as well. They'll have a fee that they want, riders, food in that rider, beer in that rider, water in, so it's all a cement cost. So we shoulder that, and we try and obviously get back what we can. Obviously, we give out money to the bands for playing as well, which personally I can't speak for any other region whether that's what they do or not. But we believe it's fair. If they come to play, if they should make some money too. So yeah, that's why we do the whole ticket thing with them. But I've waffled. I forgot. Sorry, what was the question?
I know. About like you mentioned about like international, like possibly like an international headliner.
Yeah.
But from what you're saying, it then goes into like the same thing as like changing the venue sort of thing. You've now, because you've brought person X in, and they've come over from Belgium or whatever. Well, they're gonna want they're gonna want a bit of a sting out of their tickets coming over and stuff, and the travel money coming up, and then they need a place to stay and all those sort of things. And like you said about changing the venue, it's like, well, then that's now this cost, and we were barely going to make this anyway. So now the only way to counteract that is, oh, well, do we raise the prices up £1 a ticket or whatever, or stuff like that? And then, whereas like you could get someone from Birmingham or whatever to come over, who was like last year's Birmingham winner or whatever, to come headline, and it's still going to cost you to bring them over, but a fraction of the price.
Yeah, I remember now. Yeah, that's completely right. Yeah, bringing people over. Like there was this band that said about coming over. They wanted like 600 quid, and it was just like, and this was just to play in the competition as a participant, and it was just like, sorry, what? And they were like, oh yeah, we'd love to come play and participate in the competition, but we'll need 600 quid, and it was just like, no, we can't afford that. So yeah, it's just like, because if that weren't a scam, that could have been a scam for all we know. But it was just like, we can't afford to ship your band from, I think it was Spain, to come and play here for 25 minutes and then go away and then potentially come back if you were like really good. But that was a bit of a weird one. That was a couple of years ago. It was just like, is this a scam? Or, but you never know. We get scam emails all the time that I just have to delete. My favorite ones were like, oh yeah, you could become a millionaire if you just sign this. And it's just like, it's like they still circulating. I thought they'd stop doing that sort of stuff, but obviously not.
The main ones I get is the you've got this is I think the last thing I had was this is EE. You've got so many points to use up. Just sign into this. How good. Or
No.
Go on.
So it's always like, this royalty from this country is needing to release some funds. If you just
Yeah.
accept something, you can have like X amount. And it's just like, oh, for God's sake, this email again.
We worked out the scam in 2004, right? It's like,
Yeah.
But, so, I'll be honest. I think we've pretty much covered that in a minute. So, you're big into your thrash. Like, what started your journey into that? From nothing to, oh, hello, I like that. What was the starting blocks for that?
Right. So I'm going to say two things, and you're going to love one of them. So the first one was Grand Theft Auto Vice City. V-Rock, the soundtrack on there, obviously Slayer, Megadeth, Anthrax, Ozzy. Yes, I was under the age of 18 when I played that. I am quite old, but still, that game was out like well over 20 years ago now.
Well, judging by your Instagram handle, I think we're the same age.
36.
Yeah. 89. Yeah.
So V-Rock on GTA Vice City was a big influence, but my main influence was wrestling. I grew up in the 90s watching wrestling, WCW, WWF, and they had, new metal playing, Metallica rip-offs playing, and, WCW were great, but, we knew that weren't really Metallica playing. It was whatever they did. So, it was great. And that was also one of my influences. One of my favorite, memorable things was WrestleMania 17, where they had Limp Bizkit playing My Way and, showcasing WrestleMania 17. So, that was a big sticking point when I was growing up. So that is how I got into metal. But obviously, I think the Vice City route of listening to Slayer, Anthrax, and Megadeth was quite sticking as well. I loved Slipknot in the late 90s and early 2000s. They just then released their first album. And, we're in high school and some of the kids' older brothers were like, oh, we're listening to this band called Slipknot and Korn. And it's just like, wow, that's really cool. And Green Day, Blink went through like pop punk phase and everything. So
there's too many parallels right now, honest to God, right? So I got into wrestling when I was about 11 or 12, right? And but like when I started high school, was like go to school, dressed in your school uniform, and then you think you're a grown up because you've gone to high school now and everything. And then after about a month, you start realizing that the older kids are walking around in hoodies, not school jumper.
yeah.
The hell is Linkin Park? What is Korn? What is Slipknot and everything? And then suddenly all my mates are listening to this stuff, and then I discovered this channel called Kerrang, right? Sort of like I say, like all the new metal stuff. And then I mean, my dad's like a massive Queen fan, so like I grew up with like Queen, AC/DC, and all that sort of thing. Anyway, and then like I say, like all the new metal stuff, like Limp Bizkit and stuff. And then after I changed high school, like the group of friends I'd made then was all pop punk stuff. So it's like I said, there's quite some parallels there. And then it wasn't until I got to college that then like the friends I made then, they were like, yeah, well, actually I discovered Trivium. That was like my route back into metal. Just like randomly found them on Kerrang one day, and then I just found Killswitch Engage and Atreyu and stuff like that. So yeah, so like it's just weird how parallel, very similar our roots were. It's just like I didn't really get into thrash until, like I said, got to college and made friends with that group, because then suddenly I just, I listened to Metallica a lot more, and I discovered Pantera and Slayer as well. Sort of those weren't really things I was listening to at the time.
So it wasn't until 2006 when I first started working at a place called Homebase, and I met Nathan Satt, who is obviously the guitarist for Shrapnel. That's where I met him. And he's slightly older than me, and he basically took me under his wing, and he was just like, "Oh, you like these bands, but check out these bands." And that's when he like introduced me into like Exodus, Testament, Overkill, Sodom, and he's just like, you like Slayer, now you like these bands too. And it's just like, yeah, I do. I really love these bands. He's like, right, now let's go a little bit heavier. Here's some like Cannibal Corpse and Obituary, and it's just like, that's really good. I really love all this. And then because obviously I was working and I had a paycheck, it was just like going down HMV or some of the local record shops and just picking up like thousands of CDs. Like I think in about the space of 3 years, my CD collection grew from like nothing into like over 1,000. And like the amount of money I've spent on CDs has just incredible. Every single Black Sabbath album, every single Aussie album, all the AC/DCs, all the Slayers, the Slipknots, just everything. I still have them. They're all up in my loft. I just have nowhere to put them. My wife wouldn't like me to just display them around the house anymore. But when I was living at home with my parents, I didn't have like one wall was just racking all of CDs, and that's all I did. I just sat there listening to music and playing Xbox, and that was kind of like my downtime. And like, I just listened to like the same thing over and over and over again. I remember vividly playing Halo 3 while listening to Down 3 because they came out roughly the same time, I think. Could have been Halo 3, it might be Halo Reach, I don't know. But I just remember vividly playing Halo, listening to Down, and it's just like, whenever I hear Down, I think, oh, I remember when this came out and I was sitting there playing Halo. So, yeah, and my parents hated it because it's like, oh, I don't stand that music. Turn it down.
Oh god, like it's just adding more and more, because that's the same crap I had. It's like whatever I was listening to, like, oh, what crap is this? Blah blah. Oh, that's not singing. That's not this. Like right as I was leaving school, I discovered Trivium. I remember going to school and told my mates all about them, and they're like, "That sounds like crap." I'm like, "Okay, something. Yeah, you told me about X, Y, and Z, but okay." And then like literally fast forward 3 months when we started college, and like, Rich, you heard this band Trivium? They're awesome. I told you about them in May. Right? So everything I ever listened to, my dad compared to Queen, right? And like, I kind of get like, you compare to a previous thing or something, but I was trying to get into my dad's head. This is when I was like 16 or 17. That the front man is 3 years older than me, and he's already played it download, which is a massive feat, sort of thing. They haven't sold any platinum albums. They haven't been around long enough for platinum albums yet, Dad. Or just, I say like that sounds like crap. Anybody can scream and shout. Turn it down.
Have you tried to scream and shout like they have? It takes some doing.
I've attempted it. I'll just stick with trying doing it, singing in the shower. I'll stick with that. I sort of,
mine's the car when I'm alone. It's like, yeah, never do that in front of people, basically.
I remember seeing something like literally like probably last year now, right? Kevin from Electric Callboy. They every now and then like they do a reaction to people reacting to whatever videos they release, and there was someone doing like there's some major breakdown on Kevin's vocals and everything. And he's like, yeah, I've got no skill. I just scream until I taste blood in the back of my throat and I know about it. I was like, okay. So like everyone else has this technique, and you're just like, ah, yep, I can taste blood, but sorted.
Yeah.
So just I mean, I'm sure you similar sort of thing. Is what I know. I definitely have. Have you played any bands at all, or had dreams of playing in bands at all, or is it just a case of like I like that, I'll stick with that?
I did learn how to play guitar, and I did used to have guitar lessons, and that's about as far as it went. I used to take lessons from Nathan from Shrapnel as well. We kind of like co-wrote a little jingle together. He'd basically do a bit and then leave a section blank. It's like, right, you fill that now. And so he was, teaching me how to kind of do that sort of process. But as far as joining a band, I've never really thought about it. I thought, oh yeah, it would be great to do that sort of thing. But yeah, before I got on stage and started basically talking to people, I was very timid, and that never really crossed my mind. It's like, oh no, it's like I can't do that, not in front of people. In my bedroom is fine, but going out and doing it in front of people, ooh, not me.
I'm one of the people that had that deluded thing of like, yeah, I'm gonna learn to play guitar. I'm gonna have the next Trivium or Both My Valentine sort of thing. It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be this and the other. Stand in front of people, no, it's scary. It's just like
scary.
Honestly, even doing something like this, I'm like up until I get going, I'm like, okay, hello, what? Yeah. Well, I used to tripped over my words right at the beginning. But yeah, I mean, I did the same thing. I got a bass guitar because I was going to do a Blink-182 cover band with some friends, and by the time I actually got it, because I had a drummer and a guitarist, by the time we got it, we'd all gone to college in our separate ways, and it just kind of about a year's worth of lessons, and it's an ornament in my bedroom now. So it's just
yeah, I have a very expensive guitar in its case in the wardrobe, not even out on the wall in display. It's just sitting there gathering dust.
So when you said about like getting into like metal through watching wrestling, like what would be like your go-to songs, or like the ones that flash that memory back up? I mean, like you said My Way by Limp Bizkit, which anybody who's seen that Stone Cold Rock, you even need the actual promo. You just got to watch that video with it over the top, and you get chills watching it. It's what other ones?
So obviously you got Metalingus, which is Edge or Adam Copeland's theme, depending on whether he's like WWE or AEW. That's obviously a very influential metal song. Everyone knows, obviously, that it's Alter Bridge. For me, like I really like the Hardy Boys. I know it's not metal, but I used to love their theme as well.
It's still rock though, a heavy rock.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if he's still in. I know Jeff Hardy had a prog band with the weirdest name I've ever seen. I couldn't, without looking it up, I couldn't tell you what it was, and even then I struggle to read it anyway. So,
I found like the more they went, like especially with like NXT, Triple H, they had more of the metal songs and theming, especially with their pay-per-views as well. But like obviously a lot of the entrance music for WWE aren't bands, are they? They are actually generated by, or were generated by their own composers. So I would imagine they took into consideration the character and be like, oh, well, this would suit this character. Very rarely did you have metal songs unless it was like for a pay-per-view. Obviously, Motorhead is a big one, isn't it, for Triple H?
Well, he's had three different songs from him, and he's sort of The Game, Line in the Sand, and King of Kings.
Obviously, they played a WrestleMania as well, didn't they?
Yeah, was it WrestleMania 20?
I can't remember. I just remember them playing.
Yeah, and then you got like more recently you got Motionless in White for Rhea Ripley's walkout music. They had Slipknot for NXT's music a few years ago. They War Pigs for War Games each year now. Although from what I understand, the one they use, which doesn't make this any worse, in fact, it probably up there, was re-recorded with Ozzy and Judas Priest, which it's like we're gonna take like an awesome metal band, metal thing, and then like add more awesome metal to it. It's just sort of like, all right. Going back to the Limp Bizkit thing, they had Rollin' for the Undertaker's theme for a short while.
And Kid Rock.
I forgot about that. I wasn't watching wrestling then. I'd stopped watching it in that time frame because it was like where the Undertaker was. He was the dead man when I was watching it. Then I stopped watching it, and then when I got back watching it again, he was the dead man. So I kind of missed that biker phase of his.
Oh, shame.
I just got back though about Evolution. Saliva. I can't remember what the song was called, but they did Batista's music.
Yeah.
And then Rev Theory for there's the current Randy Orton with voices. There's still quite a lot of metal representation in there. I mean, if you go over to AEW, Killswitch Engage, and the Heartache for Roger Strong. Killswitch Engage were CM Punk's theme music.
This Fire.
Which I did find out was actually Survivor Series theme beforehand.
Was it?
Apparently. I did notice that NXT probably had the better songs of that because they had Poppy for one show, one takeover with Scary Mask, Alien Weaponry with Holding My Breath. Was it Holding My Breath? Or I just pick a random lyric from that song. I think it's Holding My Breath. It's been a while since I listened to them. But it's sort of like there's been some absolute kick-ass metal, punk, just rock in general sort of stuff over the years, and that's just ones off the top of the head. I mean, like with local show to us, I forgot what the bloody song's called now. But like, I've been to a local show where someone's come out to Machine Head, and so I've literally sat going like, I don't care who you're against, even because like being more local, they sort of become friends with the rest of that. This is someone from the outside. I was like, I don't care who he's against. He come out Machine Head. He's come out to the Davidian. I want him to win. So yeah. It's going to annoy me now. I'm going to randomly blurt it out in a few minutes. Like, oh, it's this one. You said about playing Xbox. I don't know how much. Did you play much wrestling games at all?
Yes. So every single SmackDown versus Raw, and I gave up on WWE 13. and I didn't pick another one up until 2K16.
Yeah.
And then I only played that because it was free with games with gold on the Xbox.
That's why I've
And
got
and then my mates, they still play them and buy them. So every year now, like they'll buy the new one. Be like, "Oh, come around and play the new one." And it's like, yeah, okay. And I normally get my ass kicked because I'm not playing it regularly like I used to when I was a kid. Like I used to be able to reverse majority of their moves, and now it's just like, yeah, you're gonna win.
Yeah, on top of that, all the game mechanics have changed and everything, and
Yeah.
but I mean, even some of those had some absolute kick-ass soundtracks.
Yes, they did. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Animal by 3 Days Grace is like one of my favorite from any wrestling game. Like one of my favorites.
Yeah, I always remember Lonely Train by Blackstone Cherry as being on one of the games. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I was about to say. That 2007 one, just like just chocker full of great rock and metal ones. It's just I like it, Animal, and I couldn't think of what it was called. I'm really glad you said that. I was like, that was another one. I swear Blackstone Cherry were on there, and then you've said that.
Yeah.
So just go back the wrestling. Like what got you started as a fan then?
It was my friend. He watched it because of his cousin, and then he's just like, "Oh, check this out! What It's like, "Oh, what's this?" It's like, "Oh, it's wrestlers, WWE." This would have been in the late '90s, like literally around about the Attitude Era. I was just like, "Oh my God, they're hitting each other with stuff. What the hell? This is awesome!" Oh my God, throwing someone off a cage. It's just like, I'm invested. I watch it back now and I'm just like, actually, compared to like modern day wrestling, like the wrestling back then was just like, how could I like that as much as what I did back then? Because it's not as story, it is story driven, but like the wrestling itself was really basic. And then you look now, and obviously a lot of people are like, "Oh, it's just flippy shit," which is fine. I kind of don't mind that. Like, I really like Will Ospreay. I think he's a really great wrestler, but a lot of his stuff, obviously, he's turned it back now, but was considered flippy shit. My favourites was like the Hardys, Edge and Christian, the Dudley Boys. TLC. I loved the TLC match. That was great. Obviously, Mick Foley taking the dive off the Hell in the Cell, going through it. I think that was one of the first matches that I watched. It was King of the Ring '98, and it was just like that was just another level. And then I know obviously it's more accessible now, but you go back and see what he used to do prior to that with all like the King of the Deathmatch tournaments. It's just like, the guy's fucking insane. It's like, why would you do that? Get yourself wrapped up in barbed wire and stuff. And then obviously that then led on to like, what about ECW? It's like, what's ECW? Like, look what they do. It's like, you like hardcore matches. It's like every single match is like a hardcore match, and they just ramp it up. It's just like, no rope barbed wire match. What the hell is that? It's just like watching like Terry Funk and Sabu. It's just like, they're fucking mental. Going through flaming tables, or you got the Dudley Boys chucking Spike Dudley halfway across the arena, just spiking him through a table. It's just like, Jesus Christ, this is awesome. The things that they go through just to entertain people. It's like something about that. It's just like, I love it.
I got bullied into it. Like my friends were more interested. Like, Rich, you gotta watch it. I was like, I don't really care. Like, no, you gotta watch it. I don't care. Like, and then it was just to shut them up one day, and then it was when Channel 4 was still showing it, and I caught it one Sunday, and I it's always sort of it's one of those bitter pills sort of thing, because the first person I saw that I was like, oh my god, this guy's feral, he's awesome, I love this guy, it was Chris Benoit. And because I just remember him being an absolute beast, and he looked in that crossface, guy taps out, he won, that was it. But the thing is, all my mates at school liked it, but I had no one to watch it with or anything like that, so kind of like I didn't really sort of understand much of it. So like for me, it was a case of, if you were the best, you were champion. If you hate each other, you went in the ring, beat the shit out of each other, and then someone else would do something else. And then when they're almost the best, they then fight the champion, and whoever wins gets the thing. I didn't understand like storylines and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then fast forward, like I went off it like, after I changed school and that. And then like after I got with my missus, like I was playing Xbox with my brother, and like I was playing Def Jam Fight for New York at the time. I was like one of my favorite games, and brother-in-law said to me about like coming on and playing the Xbox with him, and he's like, "Do you want to play wrestling?" I was like, "I don't care really," and I was like, screw it, it's just another beat 'em up, and it's like, yeah, the wrestling might be fake, but the games aren't, sort of thing. That was literally like my attitude. And because he knew I watched wrestling when I was younger, he'd be going about this, go about that. I'm like, I have no idea what the hell you're on about right now. So I started watching again, so I knew what the hell he was telling me about, and I've been hooked since. Right, it's like the only thing I watch. So it's sort of so where that's concerned, it's like now I understand the storylines and everything. You say about the flippy stuff and that. Up until the last few years, I used to love all this, that, and the other. And then Stuart, one of the other members of Nerdic Pro, like him and I were talking a while ago, and what he said sort of like made a bit more sense to me, on the fact that like when you do move X, Y, and Z, yeah, it might look cool, but why are you doing it? What part of the story is that being told on that? So like now I try and look at things as a bit more of the story, right? Rather than just like the Ricochet and Jake Paul's collision, the Royal Rumble the other year. Looked cool. Nothing came from it apart from it went viral for a couple of months. So that's the way I look at getting matches now.
Yeah, so I watched WWE like non-stop religiously from about 2007 till 20, I want to say 21. You know, I've seen the worst of WWE, and I stopped through it at that point, and I was just like, I love watching wrestling. I want to watch wrestling, and there was no alternative. WCW was gone. ECW didn't exist. They brought it back in WWE and then dissolved it, and it was just like, I want to keep watching. And then when then guy who I worked with is like, "Have you ever watched New Japan?" It's like, "No, I've heard of New Japan. I never watched it because it's unobtainable and inaccessible." He's like, "No, it's not. It's just like, just download it for free." That's what I do. It's like, okay. So then he would like give me copies of New Japan, be watching New Japan, and be like, yeah, that's really good. Obviously, storyline wise, don't really know what's going on half the time, but the wrestling was different. It's not the Americanized style of wrestling that you're used to with WWE. And it was just like, I really liked this. And then, you've got all you had your AJ Styles and all that then come through in TNA when TNA was getting popular. And then he moved to New Japan, and then, you start seeing Kenny Omega coming up, and just like start to lean more to that way of like this now. And then when AEW come about, and obviously how accessible that is, especially when it started here on ITV, it was just like, yeah, I really liked that. And then as the years went by, I was trying to watch Raw, Dynamite, SmackDown, and NXT all in a week, and I was just finding it too hard. And I was just like, SmackDown isn't as good, so I'll drop SmackDown. And it's like Raw isn't as good, I'll drop Raw. And it's just like just NXT and Dynamite. And yes, they were on the same day, so they're kind of competing. And then it was just like when NXT changed to 2.0, that is when I switched WWE off on a weekly basis and just solely stuck with AEW. For me, for the majority of the flagship shows of WWE, it was the Superdome that killed it for me. Just didn't like it. Didn't like that the way that they had the setup in the pandemic, and was just like, if I'm going to invest my time into watching wrestling, I've got 2 young kids, so I can't sit there watching like 10 hours of wrestling every week in the small space of time I have between work and going to bed and raising a family. Just like, I'm going to cut it down. And WWE for me was the less palatable one. So yeah, I've been watching AEW since its inception, and I still watch it on a weekly basis now.
Yeah, it's that lockdown era for. I think AEW definitely was the better of the two. Out of the two, me personally, I do prefer WWE over AEW. And part of it is the way I see it being run. Just on the fact that they've, like, for me, what AEW was originally concepted to do and what they're doing now is 2 different things.
Yeah.
So when they first started, we just want to be an alternative. Great, okay. We want to create stars. We want to give people like, who are slogging their asses off on the indies, trying to get noticed. We want to give them a platform. And they basically said that, like, they accept the fact that once they make someone big enough, WWE is going to come and snatch them. Right? It's what happens, sort of thing. Up until it happened. Once it happened, they suddenly weren't happy, which I understand. Once you invest a lot of time and money into somebody, and then someone else will go, "We'll have him," and they can take all the reward of your investment. Yeah, I do understand that. But then it's like WWE started having the cuts during the pandemic, and they were like, sign. And then it was like the entire forefront is ex-WWE stars. They kind of like everyone that they were building, a lot of them got like pushed down or just forgotten completely. I mean, when you look at who's been AEW, just the people who've been AEW champion, there's not a single person there they've built. You can argue MJF. However, he was already on the rise and everyone was sniffing around him anyway. I think WWE just hadn't quite been ready to pull the trigger on him, whereas AEW went, here's a contract. And fair play to him, he took that. You've got Jericho, Mox, Jericho, Mox, Samoa Joe, Daniel Bryan. I'm just trying to list everyone else off right. Why Joe was never WWE champion, I'll never know. Right? He absolutely should have been, right? But they were already big names, and that. Hangman Page is kind of like, I'm a bit up and down with him, and it kind of feels, what we were saying earlier about people that him being friends with the elite or part of the elite or whatever, it kind of like, it's like, is he in that position because of, or is it because of that?
I don't know. I think the interesting thing with Hangman is, he's the chase better than the reward. Him chasing for the title is better than him actually having the title, in my personal opinion. Like, both times he's chased for the title, it's been really interesting. But then the second he has the title, it's like, it's probably a bit like a Cody thing as well. Like when Cody came back to WWE, it was like the chase was better than the reward of him having it.
That's a very good way of putting
it. But like with MJF, like his first run as champion, like that whole year of him being champion was just great. But he is, he is how he is, and he's a really great wrestler, but his mic skills and his storytelling work is just next level.
I honest to God want to see him versus the Miz just on the mic. I ain't worried about a match. I just want to see them two yell at each other, right, and just see what comes up. All right,
That's fair.
Brilliant. Yeah. So aside from that, I mean, you mentioned earlier, yeah, sort of bit of a gamer as well. What sort of stuff do you like there? I mean, I've been looking at all that. I'm pretty convinced those are Minecraft lamps behind your head.
Yes, they are.
Yeah,
so I'm currently sitting in what is dubbed the game room. So we set up a games room for my kids to play computer, and I actually spend more time playing computer in here with them than I do on my actual TV where my main Xbox is set up. So my youngest will play the main Xbox on Fortnite through on the big TV, and then I have to come through here because he's like, "Oh, can you play Fortnite with me?" I'm just like, "Oh, go on then." And then I'll come through here and play the Xbox One on a smaller TV. But yeah, we've got like Fortnite signs, we've got the torches above me, we've got a Minecraft clock, we've got two televisions, a bunch of consoles in here. But my main one is the Series X. Currently, I'm playing Resident Evil Village. My mates have been banging on about playing it for the last 4 years, and my wife bought me a copy quite a few years ago, and I was just like, "Oh, we'll get around to playing it at some point." But because it then came on Game Pass, I was just like, "Yeah, we really should play that because 9 comes out next month." And then my mates would be like, "You should play Resident Evil 9." And I was like, "I should definitely play 8 then," even though it probably doesn't follow, but it's still something I should play. But I've been going back through like old games, so I was quite late to the party with like Elden Ring, and I played Elden Ring and I loved it. And I was like, "Why have I never played this before?" And a guy at work was like, "Well, if you like that, you should play Dark Souls." And I was like, "I tried to play Dark Souls once and I hated it." And he's like, "Yeah, but you like Elden Ring now." That's where it all kind of started in the Xbox run, because I can't play Demon Souls because I don't have PlayStation. And so I got the trilogy, and I've been working my way through Dark Souls 1. I completed Dark Souls 1, and I've now come to the end, apart from the DLC on Dark Souls 2. So I've got Dark Souls 3 and Sekiro to try and complete. But, sometimes I pick up Call of Duty with my mates. Gears of War, I absolutely loved Gears of War back in the day. The first 3 was probably where I was at. 4 was okay. 5 kind of didn't really play a lot of. But as I've got older, my timings and my reaction timings are slower, so it's not favourable to play multiplayer games against kids anymore, apart from Fortnite, because apparently they're just not up to it. But go play like Call of Duty Warzone and the whole team gets wiped by one person. It's kind of got a bit boring.
What do you say about buddy playing Fortnite, right? My boy, he plays Fortnite on the keyboard and mouse on his Xbox, and it just sounds like he's just button bashing. Right? It just sounds like he's just going like that on the keyboard, right? And I'm watching, and he's building, editing, shooting, building again, harvesting, and I'm like, all in like minute seconds. I'm like, I've just realised the other guy shot. So like I've been dead ages ago.
Yeah. So when I do play with my kids, I'm like 0 build. But I can't build and do. And we do place quite high in that, and that's quite nice. And like, so my 7-year-old, we were just playing duos the other day, and I got down. I was just like, "Oh, there's 2 there, just run away." It's like, "No, I got them," and he killed them both, and I'm just like, "Okay, all right, okay." He's been playing it like since Christmas, because it's like his older brother, who's 11 now. He's been playing it for like a year and a half, and he's just like, "I really want to play Fortnite. Can I play Fortnite?" It's like, "Oh, he might be a bit young for it." So we tried him on it. He loved it, and yeah, he's just been getting better and better. But we only allow them to have like an hour at a time. They don't play every day, but still, it's just like for them to come along and be like, "That's all right. I'll kill these people and rescue you." It's just like, you're 7. You shouldn't be doing this. I keep getting can we play this game? No. But I really want to play GTA. No, you can't play GTA. Yeah, but my friend, I don't care what your friends at school play. I don't care what they're playing. You're not playing GTA. Yeah, but can I play it? No, you can't. You can't play Resident Evil. You can't watch me play Resident Evil. You can't play Silent Hill. You can't watch me play. You probably really shouldn't watch me play Elden Ring, that sort of thing. So with the gaming stuff, it's nice that my kids are into it, but it's just like most of the stuff that I play, I can't play around them, so I have to kind of wait for them to be in bed. Then me and the missus will sit there and we play some games together sometimes, or we watch TV. We went through Marvel Invasion, the side scroller beat 'em up. That was quite good. We try and find games like that to play, or if not, we sit there and play Uno on the Xbox as well.
Yeah, I remember them days where it's like, I can't play this around the kids. I can't play. My youngest has just turned 14, so I'm lucky there now. But it's like, I can't play this around them. Can't play that around them. And then it'd be like, they've gone to bed. Right, okay, maybe okay, she wants to watch some telly again. Watch some telly again. She's gone to bed. Yeah, so this horror game I was going to give a bash. I'm not playing at 11 o'clock at night in a silent house. Screw that shit.
Yeah, it's like going through Resi 8 at the moment. It's just like I'm quite a jumpy person actually, and my wife loves it. Like we go to the cinema and go see a horror movie, and she's just waiting for me to jump just so she can laugh at me. So I grew up playing Resident Evil. My parents had no clue. Back in 97, 96, playing Resident Evil 1 on the PlayStation. Like my parents didn't have a clue. I was playing GTA at like 12, but because I grew up with it, I'm clued into what it's about. Whereas my parents didn't have a clue. So, you want to play this game? Yeah, okay, whatever. But like, there's a lot of violence in this game. I probably shouldn't play Manhunt, but there I am. I am playing Manhunt. So yeah, I do kind of shroud my kids with a bit of that, and they go, "Oh yeah, but you say you were playing that at my age," and I'm just sitting there thinking, "Yeah, I probably shouldn't have told you that because you keep going on about it, And it's just the same with like movies. It's like, yeah, but this kid at school watched this movie. It's like I don't care. I don't care that they've watched Stranger Things. It's like I don't think Stranger Things is appropriate because I don't want you coming down at 2 a.m. going, I'm scared because I've had a nightmare. Because my kid's now been diagnosed with ADHD, so he definitely, and he's got a bit of traits of ASD. Like he definitely overthinks things, and that he'll go to bed. And that'll be the only thing he thinks about, and then he'll be downstairs like every half hour. I can't sleep, and it's just like, well, if you can't process it and be mature about it, then you can't. We did, he kept going on about watching Deadpool. This is my oldest, by the way, not the youngest. And it was like, well, okay, we'll try you on the first one. Just if you turn around and you say you don't want to watch it anymore, that's fine. We're not going to hold it against you. And if you're familiar with the movie, the scene where he's on the freeway, absolutely slaughtering everyone. It's just like, how does he feel about this? Because he's not really seen like people have limbs chopped off or being run through and decapitated and that sort of stuff. It's like, what's he gonna think? And it's just like, what do you think, boy? And he's just like, oh, I love it. It's like,
well, that's kind of worms, isn't it?
Yeah. He has now watched all 3, but then the youngest one is like, oh, can I watch them? It's just like, yeah, when you're 11. So yeah, it's good that you can hold that standard. Yeah, when you're 11, you can then do it, but because my youngest doesn't have any of them traits or have been showing them traits. He's quite mature for his 7-year-old brain as it is. So yeah, we'll cross them roads when we have to. But yeah,
I'm not going
with the
to do much
gaming,
because I held back on playing certain games in front of them. I let my kids watch Starship Troopers when they were 10, so I watched it when I was 10. I just kind of carried it on. It's just like right, okay, and there's gonna be boobs, so I'll just hold it. No boobs, okay, all right. As much grown up adult parenting bit that I did in that. I was just sort of
I think it's just the time that we're in. It's like growing up. Like in '99, I watched Blair Witch, and that was okay. It's a psychological horror, isn't it, more than anything else? But it's still like that. That's scary for not nine. It was like 10. That's scary for a 10-year-old, and then you start watching like the Halloweens and the Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street. It's just like, but you just dealt with it, and I don't know whether it's just like a thing now. It's just like, oh, we should protect the kids, I agree with that, but my parents just let me run wild with like, oh, you want to watch that? Yes, fine. You want to play that? Yeah, that's fine. It's just like I protect my kids more than what my parents protected me with media. But with like social media as well. My kid asked if he could be on Facebook today. I was like, no social media for your kid.
I think part of it is because not that we were left to roam free and all that sort of thing, but because things were a bit more slack with us, our sort of generation, we're a little bit more. You can kind of like feel like you want to like let the kids like be feral kind of thing, like because of how, but because there's so much more they can be exposed to now, right? Like you say, like things like social media and the internet and everything. That opens like a whole different can of worms that we didn't get until we were like 12, sort of thing. Whereas like they've had it from birth, sort of thing. Like there's a certain amount of people that have the old electronic babysitters, and well, the thing is though that one link then went somewhere else and somewhere else and somewhere else. So where they were sat there watching Peppa Pig, right, they're now watching something that they absolutely shouldn't. So let's say having that slight over, could be looked at as hypocritical, slightly over the top protection. Is like, well, it's minutely justified, sort of thing. It was, whether it's, our parents let us watch Starship Troopers, Blair Witch, Predator, Terminator, Alien, whatever, sort of films like that. That was still controlled. Yeah. So I think that's one of the reasons why our generation of parents are that it can be that little extra protectiveness, whilst also looking completely hypocritical. It's like
absolutely. I remember like the first like extreme gore video that I was shown, and that was effective. And it's just like I think it was like 13 or something. It was just when video phones then started being normal. Like I can take cat pictures on my phone, and then video, and it's just like, and you make oh, what's this? And then it's just like, yeah, I kind of wish I didn't see that. And I believe now it's like protecting the kids from that because there's so much of it now, and it's so easy to access. It's unreal. But I believe that's where, and like media now as well. The stuff that we watched in the '90s is not as extreme as what modern day stuff is. You look at like Saw and the stuff that you see in Saw. Well, you didn't see stuff like that in Halloween or Friday the 13th, did you? It's just like we took our media and wrapped it up, and then you compare the two now, and you're just like, well, that's actually really tame compared to this media.
Well, I mean, you say about that because while you say it, I was thinking it's like, they're just trying to ramp it up that next level. I don't know if you watched that. I forgot what it's called now. The Monster series on Netflix had the Charlie Hunnam thing. I can't think it was called. The Ed Gein, right? When they come to the part where they're talking about making Psycho and that wasn't a film. A horror scary movie of that era was a mummy movie, Dracula, early zombie movies, all that sort of thing. That was the shock and horror stuff. Whereas now you brought Psycho out, right? It hadn't been seen, and it's all like, by today's standards, it's nothing. It's like, okay. Whereas like back then, it was that shock thing, and then you had Texas. I'll hold my hand up. I haven't seen these films, but I got a reasonable understanding of them and that. But it's like Texas Chainsaw Massacre was like a next step, and then things what's it called, Silence of the Lambs was and then by the time we got today, today's things, it's like, oh, that's nothing. That's the equivalent of watching a cat run across the grass. So it's nothing. It's so they're always trying to get that next level of shock factor.
Yeah, it's just desensitization, isn't it? I wish sometimes that the things that I've seen that I haven't seen, I didn't see, and if I could take that back, I probably would. You don't need to see things like that. Like, yes, it happens, and it's a shame that it happens. But you don't need to see it, and I strongly believe in protecting my kids from the things that I saw, but definitely at way too young age. And especially like with my eldest being hyper focused on stuff, it's just like, you definitely don't want to be letting him see that sort of thing. The same with games, isn't it? Resident Evil 1 in comparison to like Resident Evil 7 or 8, two different worlds.
Yeah. I mean, like, you said about video games, was like Gears of War, for example, right? You use that chainsaw bayonet. Like, I laugh at it because it's so over the top. It's almost cartoony.
Yeah.
And my nephew at the minute is getting into Warhammer. Really getting into that, and then so like, my sister was asking me like, oh, do you think Space Marine 2 will be alright for him? And like, that's a very similar sort of thing. It's like so over the top, it's cartoony almost, right? And like, I've joked about saying that, like, oh no, that's blood gore thing. That's something my 10-year-old nephew should not be playing, which is exactly why my 10-year-old nephew should play it, sort of thing. I sort of joke about that sort of thing, but but yeah, like you say, like, I mean, the horror game I was on about earlier, like, I went to play Outlast. I got to the window to climb in. That's as far as I got. I went, fuck, this is scary. Turned it off and installed it. I ain't touched it since. Right, I hadn't even got in. Right, but yeah, like you say, like, I remember playing one of the Silent Hills, and like, I've not really encountered any of the things in there. I'm just walking around in the fog, and I'm like, this is scary, sort of thing. And that's like, God, I think I was about 15 then. So, and I think even then that was like a couple-year-old then, which is nothing compared to the stuff now. Like, I again, it's something I haven't played, but like, Dark Souls, Elden Ring, that sort of thing. Some of those things are a bit over the top on there. So like, you and I watch it, we can make our own opinions of it. We can say, "Nah, I'm good" or whatever. Whereas like, I still feel a bit of a thing, right? War of the Worlds has terrified me since I was a kid, right? Even the 1950s movie, right? That actually made me scared of lampposts when I was a little kid, right? I don't know if you've ever seen it.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, with the 50s one, and having like the little fire sources with the lamppost on top. If I saw a lamppost with the orange glow, not the yellow, I'm like shaking, terrified of it. Sort of thing. I still feel stupid for it now, because of when I was younger, that process completely different in my brain. So, like you say, like exposing, like I said, my kids are a bit older than yours, so it's a little different there. But like certain things, like there's no way I would have let them watch at 6, 7 years old.
6, 7.
Oh God!
Yeah, I know.
Oh, you're cool.
Yeah, my kids, man, all the time. So I thought I had to do it. But yeah, when it goes back to like scarring through movies, for me it was Signs.
All
You
right.
know, the home footage of the alien walking across the like from the bush. That was it. That had me. I'm just like, nope.
I've
You
not
know,
seen it, but I know what part you're about because it was always on the adverts, and that scared the crap out of me. So
yeah, you know, slashers I'm fine with. It's like the ghosty, the alien ones. You know, because I wouldn't say I'm a believer, but you know, if I see it and I can believe it, then yeah. But you know, we're not alone in the universe. There's no way we can be alone in the universe. But whatever it looks like out there would be, you know, I hope it isn't that because you know that was goddamn scary. Um, you know, because it could be real for me, that makes it more scary. You know, my wife loves going on like these ghosty things, and I was just like, yeah, okay, you can go do that. Actually, at the brick makers, you know, it's supposedly a haunted place, and um, the old landlady Emma, she's like, "Do you want to stay here for the night?" I was just like, this was after she had told me a bunch of stories about what she's experienced living there, and I was just like, so you've just told me all these stories about incidences, and you're now saying, "Do I want to stay there?" And I was just like, "Hell no." You know, even though I had the opportunity to potentially experience my own paranormal stuff, I was just like, "Hell no," because it then becomes real. And I think that's kind of where I'd like to sit. You know, it could be real, but I don't. It would be more scary knowing that it is real, sort of thing.
I'm exactly the same. Like, sort of like the idea of. I mean, I'm a big sci-fi fan anyway, so like the idea of aliens being real sounds cool until they're potentially this one, that one, or this one. I don't know if you're a Star Trek fan, but like, it's like if aliens out there, we kind of want the Vulcans, we don't want the Klingons.
Yeah.
Well, War of the Worlds has been, as I mentioned earlier, it's been something that's terrified the crap out of me since I was like 5, maybe longer, right? Especially the musical, that was the thing that terrified me. Star Wars at least, and then like seeing the 50s film scared the crap out of me, and then I was really brave and watched the Tom Cruise one, and right, and but the thing is, it's one of my favorite things. Like even like listening to the musical one, it's like I've never sat down and read the book. I'll round up on that one, but like listening to like the musical, I even sat and watched a stage show on YouTube and stuff. So and it's like I say, it's one of my favorite sci-fis, right? And then watching like different adaptations of it, it kind of like I was talking to I had we had Mickey from Chaos Under No Ties on a little while ago, and ended up on this. No, it was when I went on to the Blegh Witch project, and somehow I just got talking like this about it, and I went on a big old autistic rant, ramble and that, and we were saying about like the different adaptations of it and that, and it's like I'll still go out of my way to go and watch them, even though I know there's going to be a certain part of the back of my head going, "No, don't do it. It's terrifying. It's scary. Don't worry. It's no, sort of thing, right?" So like I said, like I mean, because then you get things like Alien, the original Alien is technically like a horror movie, but it gets because it's got that sci-fi element to it. It kind of like doesn't quite fit completely under that horror thing. For me, growing up, my horrors were zombie movies, and then there was the original Terminator,
Stalker kind of horror thriller, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, but for me, Terminator 2 is probably the greatest movie ever made.
Yeah. It's hard to argue, really. I mean, I said to some people a while ago, I was thinking about stuff like that. I was like, what? Just like, what would you say your top 5 action sci-fi from the 90s is? Because there's a lot of options.
Terminator 2 is definitely probably top of the list. It's really hard because like a lot of the movies that I do like are not, like older, like for action, could go Terminator, but I like Predator and Rambo, Die Hard. Like one of my favorite Die Hards is Die Hard 3. It's really going into movies is a really complex question for me because it's just like, well, I really like this, and I'll say so like Alien. I really like Alien 3, but the director's cut, and everyone's like, "How do you like Alien 3? It doesn't make sense." It's like, yeah, but watch the director's cut. It adds like more to the movie. It's got like 20 more minutes in it, and it actually pieces a lot of the stuff they cut out together.
Yeah.
So I really like Alien 3, and people are like, I don't know how you like that movie. Go out of the way and be like, oh yeah, I was talking to someone at work the other day. I was like, do you remember the movie Fortress? And they're like, no. So it's like a sci-fi prison movie. Like it was like an 80s movie. It's just like, okay, I'd never heard of it. It's like, watch it, it's great. And it's like, and then there's Fortress 2, where I think it's the one there in space, and it's just like, okay. And I think it's got Christopher Lambert in it. And like with that as well, it's like Mortal Kombat. I watched Mortal Kombat when that came out. This the original Mortal Kombat movie was that like 95 or whatever. So I can take all these movies from when I was younger and just like actually compared to like modern movies, like I prefer them.
Yeah.
I know like sometimes going back, you're like, okay, it looks a piece of shit, but it's just like it had more story, in my opinion.
No, not all films back then were on about making money, whereas like now everything feels like it's about making money.
Yeah, and I strongly believe like nowadays, like it's not like how can we have just like one movie? It's like how can we make a franchise out of this? And then you watch the movie, it's just like then it leaves it open for another movie. It's like, well, it's obviously going to make another movie, and sometimes it's okay, and sometimes it can work, and then sometimes it's like the second movie was terrible.
Well, you say about that, right? I did notice because The Matrix did this, Pirates of the Caribbean did this. Technically, Star Wars did this, where like the first movie is basically it's a one-off, but then that's be incredibly popular. But then the second and third movie of the trilogy is actually a two-parter. So then when you watch the second movie, it's like, it's good, but the third one craps all over it. But when you break it down, the second one is setting everything up for the third one. So, like with the Matrix, you watch the Matrix Reloaded, it's a great movie, right? Especially since we were 12 or 13 when it came out, right? But then when you watch Revolutions, right, it's absolutely brilliant. I'm not even going to pretend that I can remember what the bloody Pirates of the Caribbean movies are called, but like the second one was really good, but it was clearly to set up number 3. Empire, absolutely fantastic Star Wars movie. I don't know if you're a Star Wars fan, but Return of the Jedi, I mean, out of all of them, I think probably Empire's got the better of the second movies. if you know what I mean. And then the payoff in Jedi was brilliant. A little different with the prequel trilogy because obviously, like, they decided to go one. It was inevitable 2 and 3 were going to follow. But yeah, like when you get things like that, it is great. I mean, you said about loving Alien 3. I've only watched it once, so I can't properly judge it too much. But I absolutely love Aliens. That's like one of my favorites. So,
yeah.
Yeah, like you said earlier, Terminator 2. That's right up there. I mean, my like I said, so about 90s action sci-fi is like for me, it's Terminator 2, Predator 2, which I know a lot of people. Predator is the better one of the ones, but it doesn't stop Predator 2 being awesome. And then you got the Matrix, and these are just my 2 personal favorites. I know this film's better than, but I love them because they're from when I was a kid. And the Starship Troopers, like I said, and Independence Day. It's just like that's just nostalgia to being like 11 again, you know. But as you said earlier, like, it's so broad on like list of movies. So I was like, what do you think of this one? What do you think of that? There's lots of great. There's no way I could do a top 10, right? Like I said, I can only do like a favorite, and even then that might change here and there.
Yeah, depends on what day you're on.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how many times you've had it where like you've completely forgotten about a film that you love, and then sort of someone says something, you're like, oh my god, I forgot about that film. And then you've like there's something burning about your head. You have to find a way to watch it, even if it's just once, and even if it turns out you're watching it and you go, well, this was a load of crap. Why did I love it so much as a kid? Sort of thing. I mean, like, well, not so much by the missus, but I mean, in our house, one of our favorite films is Princess Bride. If you, it's just one of them things where it's like we all love it. You know, I've got to admit, the more universal things in our house is the Christmas movies.
Yeah, same. Unless something comes out like K-pop Demon Hunters, and that's all the kids want to watch, and so you end up watching it about 7 times in 1 week, and it's just like, I don't need to watch that film anymore. And they're like, I want to watch it again. It's like, yay, K-pop Demon Hunters.
I keep hearing stuff about it. There's a lot of dad groups I'm on that are like, it's actually saying like, oh, it's actually quite good, and so I'm going to watch it. Yeah,
it's not a bad film, to be fair. It's just that then you're at work and just like the music starts cycling in your head, and you're like, why have I got this jingle in my head? Why am I singing K-pop Demon Hunters while I'm supposed to be working? So yeah, it's very catchy, and the artwork style was out of the Spider-Man movies. The cartoony ones. It's done by the same people. No, it's not a bad movie, but when you watch it, like 7 days in a week, yeah, kind of like. But then again, when I was a kid, I probably did the same to my parents. To watch the same movie every day.
Yeah. I mean, you say about walking around work, and sort of say the amount of times I walked around work singing Chuggington, right? yeah. I was like, that's weird. That's in my head. And then about 2 weeks later, where it's been in my head every day since, I'm like, I'm gonna ban that show from my house. Something. But yeah, like you say, probably done the same thing with our parents and that. There was something else I was about to say, and it's completely gone. So aside from like wrestling and gaming and stuff, what other sort of like, I'll say nerdy stuff sort of gets the autism going?
To be honest with you, now that I've grown up, not much.
That's fair enough.
I used to collect Pokemon cards. I tried Warhammer and gave up. But then I started doing like skateboarding and BMX. That was kind of like my early teens. And then, it's like 16, college, 18, full-time work, and it's just like, oh, I'm an adult now, and I don't, kids, house, DIY, to have a hobby nowadays is. I reckon when my kids are growing up and have more time.
But, all right, then. All right. Well, I think that's about. I think we should call that just about hit the 2-hour mark. So, well, thank you very much for coming on.
You're welcome.
Where can everybody find you on socials?
Masses East Anglia on Facebook and M2TM on Instagram. One normally links the other. We're old, so we don't do TikTok yet.
And the first show's the 5th of March, isn't it?
It's the 5th of March, yes.
Yeah, well, it's way before that. So, all right. Well, again, thank you very much for coming on. I really appreciate it. Taking the time.
Thank you for having us.
All right, and hopefully we'll get to do this again. So,
yes, good.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Nerdic Pro Podcast universe thingamajig, and the newly formed Feeling Blegh. This has been episode 3. I've been Richie. Thank you very much for coming on. It's been Dan. Good night.
Good night.